I'm here with Phil Grabsky, and he is here at the museum today because he's creating an exhibition on screen about the work of Edward Hopper. So, Phil, why don't you tell us about the project you're working on?
So, well, I'm very excited to be making a film about Edward Hopper. I've wanted to make a film about Edward Hopper for 4 years now. Exhibition on screen is something that I started 11 years ago now, and the idea was to bring films to the cinema about great artists, major exhibitions, major institutions, artistic institutions around the world. It was always the intention to be as broad as possible historically, male artists, female artists, not all Western European, and so this film will actually be our 32nd feature film, which is unique really to have made that many feature films. So basically we release 4 films a year to the cinemas. Pre-COVID, so a couple of years ago, we were in 67 countries, in 1,500 cinemas, and COVID's interrupted things, but that will come back. Edward Hopper has, as I said, been somebody that I've been fascinated by. I think my audience will be very interested in. I have a particular interest with Edward Hopper because I was born in New York. My father's from the Bronx. It's a bit poignant now for me because he passed away this year, or last year, in fact exactly a year ago today, last year. So it's interesting for me to look into New York a little bit more and get a sense of the world in which my father was growing up, because it was contemporaneous. But as an artist, Hopper is one of those big names that deserves more attention. What I found with all these great artists, whether it's Leonardo or Michelangelo or Hockney, or it doesn't matter who it is, people tend to know the name. And actually, and it's not because we're foolish, it's just that we haven't had the opportunity to really explore who these artists really were. There's so much to be revealed about the life of an artist if you take the time. And the thing about getting a film into the cinema is that the technology now is so good that these images, and you can imagine Hopper's images in particular, will look so fantastic on the big screen. I have curators from the National Gallery of Art Washington, or from the Tate London, or from the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, who when they see the films on the big screen, they say, we're seeing paintings that we've known for 30, 40 years, and we're seeing them in a completely different way. More than that, what we try to do is make a film of lasting value, lasting importance, that people will want to watch in 10 or 20 years' time. Now, the one thing that I've learned from making biographies, essentially for the last 35 years, not only about artists, but also composers and sports people, is that the first 18, 19, 20 years of somebody's life is absolutely crucial. I mean, Mozart, if you understand how he gets to where he gets to at 18, 19, you understand what happens for the rest of his life, albeit rather short. Beethoven's the same, Michelangelo, Leonardo. Now often it's quite difficult to find out a great deal about somebody's childhood. It's not when the world's attention is on them, people aren't taking photographs of them, aren't necessarily keeping their letters. But it's very important to look at those first 18 years, because 18 to 20 years, because I don't think people change that much after that point. We're really fortunate with Edward Hopper, of course, in that we have this resource. So you can come back here and you can physically see the bed in which he's born, the room in which he grows up, the windows out of which, might not be quite the same windows, but essentially the windows out of which he looked, gazed down that kind of perpendicular as a Second Avenue, down to the Hudson. All of this gives us great insight. And the town hasn't changed that much. There are obviously people here that are experts that can give us insight. And I think, and then the relationship, which you have to kind of do for yourself, but the relationship between Nyack and New York City is very important. The role of the railroad, the role of ferries, the role of the arrival of electric light, all these things, and there's more, give you an insight into who he is. It's very easy to look at his paintings, particularly the New York ones, which everyone knows best. the more you understand about his biography, the more you comprehend those paintings. I've said this many times, but the more you understand about the biography of Mozart, actually the better you appreciate his music. The more you understand about the biography of Leonardo, the better you appreciate his paintings, and so on and so forth. And it's absolutely the case with Edward Hopper. So we're thrilled to be here on a sunny day. And actually what's particularly fortunate for us is that there is this exhibition of his wives. I know it's only on for a little while longer, another few weeks, but that is fantastically fortunate for us, not only because we can talk to the curator in and amongst her own exhibition or your exhibition, but I don't think you can understand Edward Hopper without understanding his relationship with Jo and her life as an artist. So all these things, you know, all the stars are aligning at the moment. The film will be released. We know when the film is being released. It's going to be released at the end of October this year. 2 cinemas in the United States, that's usually 150 art house cinemas. And then it has a life beyond that where it goes to television and DVD and increasingly the digital platforms. And we hope people will watch it for many years to come.
That's great, thank you. I've always said you can't really understand Edward Hopper without visiting this house and this museum. Have you discovered anything that you didn't know about Edward Hopper by being here, or didn't really fully appreciate?
There's a number of things really. The first thing was when I came on the recce trip, which was a few weeks ago, although I've been to New York many times, I'd never driven up that side of the Hudson and then crossed the bridge. The size of the Hudson, and then you start thinking about the Hudson and how much traffic must have been going up and down it, and the fact that his windows look straight down. I mean, as a child, that must have been so exciting, kind of looking down. Voyeuristic isn't quite the right word, but the kind of observational point perspective that he had, which you've got to be a bit careful not to kind of add things up too much, but you know, he has that perspective in his paintings, and maybe it all starts upstairs. Certainly the light coming through the window, again, I've been fortunate, but people in my few trips here, but people who are here a lot talk about the light. And you know, I know from my own childhood that there are certain moments with light which I think influenced who I am and made me want to be a photographer, film, and then filmmaker. So I can identify with that. There's obviously, you have to look into the biography and try to understand why he had a particular interest in light that maybe some of his other friends didn't, you know. I think that when you come to the house, you get a perspective on his economic, you know, the status of the family. It's always interesting to know how poor or how rich a family are. The fact that his parents didn't discourage him from being an artist is important. The town itself, I think, is quite interesting. I mean, it's 30 miles and 1 million miles from Manhattan in some ways. So I think that it is. It's astounding how much you can learn on one trip. But I think that obviously we'll try to convey as much as we can in the film. But I absolutely recommend people to come here. And then I have a trip planned in May where I'm going up to some of the other locations in New England, because it really helps to see where somebody grew up, where somebody painted. And in fact here, I know it's not open to the public, but I mean, even going up into the attic was quite exciting.
Yeah.
And seeing, because he used to paint up there. So it absolutely helps. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Not at all, thank you.
We look forward to the film, and we'll let everybody know when the film comes out, so everyone can appreciate it.
Exhibitiononscreen.com is where all the release information will be held. It's going to be the first film, the opening film of what for us is season 10. So we're in season 9 right now. We've got films coming up: Frida Kahlo, Eastern Art, and Camille Pissarro. That's our season 9, and then in summer, and then Hopper will be the first film of next season.
Great. We look forward to it.
Great.
Thank you.